Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name's Derek and today I'm reviewing one of these US Extreme Power jackhammers. I think this is one of the, 35-pound hammers? It's 2200 watts. I don't remember the exact weight that they give on this thing. I'll have to look it up and I'll definitely put it in the video. But basically, I probably wouldn't say I've used the crap out of this thing, but I think I've definitely used it far long enough to do a review on it. And this is going to be kind of a negative-ish, neutral-ish review. Basically, let's just talk about the good and then we'll talk about the bad, and I'll let you decide. So I've probably had this thing for about a year now. I bought my land about a year, and I basically bought this thing to help me dig fence post holes because I had a lot of rock down about 8 inches roughly into my soil, and then it was just layers and layers of rock. To give you an idea, this rock is soft enough that a backhoe could dig it out about 5-ish feet down in some spots, really only about 3 or 4 feet down in some spots. It's just like a soft layers of sand rock, and so, you know, with a big enough machine it definitely would dig it out. But for, you know, using a shovel just trying to dig fence post holes, I had to get a jackhammer. You know, the good, basically it really helped big time with that. Unfortunately, I don't think I've got any footage of this thing actually being used, but you know, I'll show you some of the bits here and how they held up over time. I used both bits. I don't know which bit I used more. It seemed like sometimes I liked using the chisel bit more, other times I liked using the pointed bit more. So it just kind of depends on what I was doing and how hard the rock was. I know I had some spots where the rock was so incredibly hard, which was fewer spots where I felt like all I could use is the pointed tip. Anyway, this is basic. This is both of them. I would say that there's a little bit of wear here. I would not describe these bits as like, you know, the hardest, highest quality steel. The chisel bit, you know, it's a little bit rounded off here. It's held up okay. It's not like these things are going to whittle away and, you know, be worn out within just a few uses. Like, they'll definitely stand up to some time, but you may want to take them to like a bench grinder, which I don't know how that would affect the hardness. Maybe some kind of heat treatment that they get, but definitely not the hardest bits around and not the longest lasting, but they do last long enough, I suppose I would say. So that's the bits, and I guess I will add that these have not been only used on rock. I lend this thing both to my father-in-law and my dad, and they both used it to chip concrete away in their homes, and they both said it worked really well. So it does work well in that sense. Mechanically, I don't know, how many hours would I say I have on it? I bet that I've got probably, in actual jackhammer use time, I would probably say I've got about 4 to 5 solid hours of running this thing. So it's not like it's got hundreds of hours on it, you know, but I've definitely used it quite a bit. I didn't just pull it out of the box and start making a review on it. Comes with this little oil container. I'm not really sure why you'd want to use this thing, because if you put oil in it, it's just going to spill out everywhere. There are a few extra parts. Thankfully, they do give you some brushes. That's what's inside this little bag, is some extra brushes for that electric motor. This wrench, I have not actually ever used it. And then a couple of Allen wrenches, you know, like all cheap Chinese tools include. So here in this case, you might notice some dirt and some oil spots. They're kind of all over. And that's pretty much where we get to the bad here. And like, there's a lot of dirt in it, but you know what? A broken concrete, if you want to accuse me of being in a dirt and dust environment using it in dirt holes, so is a concrete, broken up concrete area. You know, there's a lot of dirt and dust and grime in there for the problem that I'm going to tell you that this thing has. And you may be familiar with it if you've looked at a lot of reviews of these things. So the problem basically is that down here where you insert the bit into the bottom of the breaker hammer is that it leaks. And I'm not sure why. It started maybe the 5th or 6th time that I took it out to my property. So it did last a little while before it started having this problem. And it's not like the leak is so bad that you can't use the thing. But I have gotten to the point to where I actually just stick used motor oil in here, because if it's just going to run out the bottom of this thing anyway, then I might as well just run used motor oil into it rather than wasting good brand new oil. So I have done that, but keep in mind I started using the used motor oil after it started leaking. This handle here is kind of flimsy, just some thin sheet metal shaped in that way. but it is adjustable. You can move it either way. The power cord is nothing nice. It's some of the cheapest power cords you get on a corded power tool. Here on this side you have this little oil sight glass, and it shows no oil. I guess either because it's out of oil or because it's not standing upright. Yeah, it's been sitting upright for probably 10 or 12 seconds now, and I don't really see any oil in there. Maybe just a little bit. Maybe just a little bit. But yeah, so I've had a pretty significant amount of oil leak out of this thing. Maybe that's why there's not as much oil in the case as I expected when I opened it up, because maybe it's just all gone. So these things do take oil. It takes a pretty heavy oil from what I can remember. The electric motor is good. The way it actually runs is fine. It'll definitely break rock and concrete. It'll definitely do the job, no doubt about that. It's just one of those things, you know, it's a cheap tool. Unfortunately, it seems like one of those tools that'll really only last, oh yeah, here we go. This is where all the oil's coming from. Look at this. That's all just from the maybe 5 minutes that it's been sitting up, and I doubt it's even been 5 minutes. Maybe 3 minutes? 2 minutes? I don't know. But it's already leaking everywhere. That's how bad off this thing is with its oil leak. I have actually taken it apart. I've taken all this apart up in here, trying to figure out if it isn't something I could fix myself. And I pretty much found nothing to replace, no oil sills or anything like that. So it's definitely got some issues, guys. It's one of those tools that just don't last as long as they should. I wonder if they couldn't, you know, just spend a few more dollars building the thing to make it actually last. But what somebody has said that I saw, I think on a review of one of these things, was that they basically said, I can't even rent one from Home Depot for what these things cost. So, you know, if you get even a couple of uses out of them, you're already on top. Although I do really kind of hate the idea of buying crap just to be thrown away later because they couldn't put in a good enough quality oil seal, or they couldn't machine their parts just a little bit more finely to make them last so they're not ripping oil sills up. I'm not really sure what the situation is. I'm not really sure why the thing breaks like it does. If somebody has any idea how to fix the oil leaks on these things, I'd love to know. Take it for what it's worth. I've had it for about a year, and I wouldn't say it's useless, but it's definitely kind of shot, I would say, to some extent. I will probably just use it until it doesn't run at all anymore. If I ever need a jackhammer again, because I have sold my property at this point, and I'm not going to buy another property with a whole bunch of rocks in it. I will use it till it doesn't work anymore, till it doesn't break till it doesn't break rock or concrete anymore. But I would render it nearly useless at this point if it can't even hold in the lubrication that you provide it. So thanks everyone for watching. Sorry that this wasn't a more exciting review with lots of footage of me using it. I have plenty of time on it. I just didn't really film whenever I was using it. So thanks everyone for watching. We'll see you in the next video.